What if I told you right now, as you sit in your bedroom listening to this story, someone could be living just a few feet above your head, watching you without you ever knowing? This isn't an urban legend. It isn't a campfire ghost tale. This is a true story of a woman who discovered she wasn't alone in her own home. And when she finally climbed into her attic, what she found was so disturbing, it still haunts her to this day. Asterisk. My name is Emily. I was 26 at the time, living alone for the very first time in my life. I had just rented a small 2-story home in a quiet neighborhood. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was mine. A cozy little place with creaky floorboards, an old chimney, and just enough space for me to feel independent. The landlord mentioned the attic was unfinished, just insulation and beams, so I never paid much attention to it. Why would I? It was just a storage space, locked away behind a wooden hatch in the hallway ceiling. For the first few weeks, life was quiet, peaceful. I worked long shifts at a local restaurant, came home late at night, and enjoyed the stillness of my own place. But that peace didn't last long. It started with small things. At night, when I lay in bed, I would sometimes hear faint creaks coming from above me. I told myself it was just the house settling. Old wood. Maybe raccoons on the roof. But the sounds didn't stop. In fact, they became more distinct. One night, as I turned off my TV, I heard what sounded like a footstep. Slow, heavy, directly above my ceiling. I froze. My heart began pounding. I muted the TV and held my breath. Silence. Then another creak, moving across the attic. I laughed it off nervously. It's nothing. Probably rats. But deep down, a cold unease settled in my stomach. Because rats don't walk like people. Asterisk. The weeks went on, and I started noticing things around the house. A loaf of bread I swore I hadn't touched was missing half its slices. My carton of juice was lower than I remembered. A pair of socks had disappeared from the laundry basket. I told myself I was being forgetful. I worked late nights, I was exhausted. Maybe I just wasn't keeping track. But one morning, I found something that I couldn't ignore. I left a glass in the sink before going to work. When I came home, the glass was washed, clean, sitting upside down on the counter. My hands trembled as I picked it up. Who cleaned this? I lived alone. Asterisk. My anxiety grew worse. At night, I sometimes woke up to the sound of faint humming. A low, rhythmic noise, almost like someone whispering a tune to themselves. It seemed to be coming from above. My dog, Max, would sometimes bark at the ceiling. His ears perked up, his body tense. The more I noticed, the less I could deny it. Someone or something was in my house. And then one night, I came home from work to find my back door unlocked. Not just unlocked, slightly open. I know I locked it that morning. I felt my chest tighten. I checked every room in the house, knife in hand, but found nothing. Still, the feeling of being watched never left me. Asterisk. It all came to a breaking point one night. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, when it happened. A loud crash echoed directly above me, shaking the ceiling dust loose. I leapt out of bed, my heart slamming against my ribs. The sound was followed by a dragging noise. Slow, deliberate. I dialed my landlord the next morning, demanding to know if anyone had access to the attic. He swore no one had been up there in years. That night, I barely slept. I lay there wide awake, clutching the knife I kept by my bedside. Every creak, every shift in the wood made my skin crawl. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. The next evening, I called a close friend, Mark, to come over. I needed backup. Together, we dragged a chair under the attic hatch. My hands shook as I pushed it open. The wooden ladder unfolded with a groan. The smell hit me first. Stale food, sweat, and something rotten. We climbed up slowly, shining a flashlight into the darkness. And that's when we saw it. A thin mattress laid out on the beams. Empty water bottles scattered everywhere. Food wrappers piled in the corner. But what made my blood run cold were the photos. Dozens of them. Printed pictures, taped to the beams. Photos of me. sleeping in my bed, cooking in the kitchen, brushing my hair. Someone had been watching me for weeks, maybe months. As we stood frozen, I heard it, shuffling. From behind a stack of boxes, a figure moved. A man, thin, pale, his hair matted and greasy. His wide eyes caught the flashlight, glowing like an animal's. He bolted, pushed past Mark, scrambling down the attic ladder. We screamed and ran after him, but he was fast. Too fast. By the time we made it to the back door, he was gone, disappearing into the night. The police came minutes later, but it was too late. The stranger vanished without a trace. The police confirmed he had been living in my attic. They collected the photos, the mattress, and the scraps he left behind. But they never found him. Neighbors later said they had seen a drifter wandering the neighborhood. No one thought he was living inside my house. I moved out the next day. I couldn't spend another night there. Even now, years later, I wake up in the middle of the night certain that someone is watching me. I check my locks 3, 4, sometimes 5 times. I refuse to live in a house with an attic, because I know he's still out there. And I know he's done it before. Imagine lying in bed tonight, hearing the faintest creak above you. Would you dare to climb into your attic? Or would you ignore it and hope it was nothing? What would you do if you found a stranger living in your home? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, sometimes the scariest monsters aren't ghosts or demons. Sometimes they're people.